الرحمن الرحيم إن الله عليم خبير
Rangatirama Inarayo. What words adequately express the pain and suffering of 50 men, women and children lost and so many injured?
Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand was greeted with a standing ovation as she took to the stage to address a crowd in a remembrance service in honor of 50 people killed in the country's worst terrorist attack in Christchurch 2 weeks ago. The service is known as We Are One. The attack on 15th of March was unprecedented and shocking for New Zealand. The Muslim community lost their loved ones, and the whole country shared the sentiment. Taha McPherson, New Zealand ambassador to Thailand, reflects the feeling of unity nationwide to come to grips with loss and recover with tolerance and inclusion.
At the time of the attacks, I think our initial sort of feeling was one of horror and outrage at the attacks which targeted our Muslim community in Christchurch. That type of attack, that type of terrorist attack in New Zealand was really unprecedented. So as we're coming to grips with it and as we've come to grips with it over the last couple of weeks, I think we've become united really in grief and sympathy for the families of the victims themselves, and our broader community as well. But one point I think it's really important to stress is that we are united. An attack on our Muslim community really was an attack on all of us. Our Muslim community are a key part of our New Zealand population. They're our friends, they're our colleagues, they're our neighbours. So in many ways they are us.
They have chosen to make New Zealand their home, and it is their home. They are us.
The sentence, "They are us," from Prime Minister Ardern during the press conference just after the attack, reminds how New Zealand embraced the differences. The day after, Prime Minister Ardern wore the hijab during her visit to the community. She hugged and consoled Muslim men and women and refused to use the name of the chief suspect.
We choose to honour the heroes and victims of this atrocity rather than giving the attacker the notoriety which we fear will serve to inspire other people to carry out similar attacks.
Obviously, that's the sentence that people around the world really appreciate. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, that she said she won't name the attacker, but she will recognize the name of the victims. What's the mood among people in the country in terms of appreciation of her leadership, of her being Prime Minister?
Yeah, I think it's very. She's seen very strong support. Again, no leader wants to be having to lead the response of a country at a time like this, because the tragedy, as I said, is for us it's unfathomable. It's never happened in New Zealand's history. So she has been a very steady leader, and I think a lot of people have spoken very positively about that. As I say, she has also seen strong unity amongst the other political parties and her government and her government's parties as well. But both on the international stage and domestically, her strong leadership, I think, has been of great comfort to a lot of us during this difficult time. I think her response was, I don't feel I'm demonstrating just leadership, I think I'm demonstrating humanity. And I think for a lot of us who are, particularly those of us who are away from home during tragedies like this, but who are having to participate in our government's response, having that kind of leadership has been very, very, as I said, for us, comforting and inspiring for those of us who are working as part of the government, as I'm sure it has been to a lot of New Zealanders.
This terrorist sought to tear our nation apart with an evil ideology that has torn the world apart. But instead, we have shown that New Zealand is unbreakable. and that the world can see in us.
Imam Fowler, who was one of the imams at the Al Nur Mosque, which is where one of the mosques that the terrorist attacked, put it very poignantly in terms of capturing the national mood when he was speaking at a service last Friday. And he said, New Zealand is unbreakable. We are heartbroken, but we will not be broken, and we will not let anyone divide us. And I think that quite poignantly captures our national mood right now.
Not only new gun legislation are taken into action, but also a royal commission to investigate the terror attack is launched, and the public safety is priority. While New Zealand is moving on together, the ambassador thanks to the support and comforting messages from international communities.
Our whole country has been very united around this. You know, we're a country that has welcomed people from abroad. We're 200 different nationalities, 160 different languages. We have always welcomed people and embraced them, and we have been very clear that we are determined not to allow this attack to undermine our society, which is one based on tolerance and religious inclusion. So, and as far as changing the character of our nation, I don't think we are going to let that happen as a result of this attack. That being said, you can't deny the seriousness of an event like this for any country, and I think we will go through the grieving. We will look into how the attack happened and why. You know, we will take measures to prevent future attacks like this happening. But at the end of the day, I think one of the things to have come out of this attack is that we are very determined not to let it undermine the core values that we see as important to our New Zealand identity. And these include diversity, inclusion, tolerance and kindness.
The road may be long in terms of investigating the details behind the attack, but the whole world is witnessing from New Zealand how love and humanity can overcome anger and hatred.